not too soft. And that's one of the ones I picked for one of my scenes with the movie star. Remember, I'm going to show you guys later the clip of the movie star. She really loves this guy who's not her husband. And Pio's somewhere between harsh and tender with her in that. He's both, actually. You really see his...
Is that the scene you want to watch next?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
All right, let's do that scene because I love that scene too.
Let me see what I called that on Google Drive for you, Rob. I think I called it...
you called it movie
star, yeah. We can just watch it all the way through, just 2 minutes long.
Oh, 3.5.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oops, sorry about that. You can talk through it if you want.
Man, these episodes, you don't realize how long they go, right? Like,
already an hour.
We're at an hour already. We still got 4 clips to play. This is...
Non sono qui per me, padre, ma per l'uomo che ha.
Lo so che lo ami, ma so anche che non è il tuo uomo. È il marito di un altro, vero? C'è un brutto male. Ai medici gli hanno dato pochi mesi di vita. Ma non sarai certo tu a salvarlo. Se tu non lo lasci, lo farai morire nel peccato.
Ma padre, io lo amo. Come faccio a lasciarlo?
Scegli. O il tuo amore o la sua vita. Adesso vattene, va.
Ma padre, io non posso.
Basta! Non pretendere che io ti dia pure la soluzione, no? Soffri se sei capace, eh? Taci e prega. Da te.
Pause it for a sec. Oh, you love him, do you? Oh, you love him. You love him so much that you're willing to let him die with his soul in mortal sin so that he spends eternity in hell. That's how much you love him? That's what he's saying to her, right? Like that is, but it's, oh, look, he will be healed, but you have to leave him. So I had a priest tell me one time, we were at a weekend retreat, and the priest, he had some spiritual gifts. And when I went up, this priest didn't know me from a hole in a wall. And he said to me, you need to pray for your father's conversion. And that has sat with me for years now. And when I was quitting smoking, it really dawned on me, like, okay, you want your father to convert? How much? Are you willing to give up this thing that you're addicted to for your father's conversion? And that has been how I've been able to stay away from smoking. I really think the sacrifice of giving something up that I loved so much will eventually lead to my father's conversion, right? This woman, you love him. How much do you love him? Do you love him enough to actually save his soul? Because that's what we're talking about right now. You will save his soul if you give up something that you love.
And you know, what I was impressed... Oh, sorry, Rob, go ahead.
I was just saying, contrast the message that Padre Pio, well, at least this movie, portrayed him giving to that woman compared to the recent document from the DDF.
Well,
I mean, it's 100%.
Vincent put in the live chat. Did you see? You put it up on the screen, Rob. Vincent put in the live chat. Irregular couples ? There it was. Yeah,
that's what they are, right?
That's
an irregular couple.
So which one is love? Which one is charity? We all know the answer. You don't even have to answer it.
No, and that's it's this false sense of love that they're pushing out, this false sense of mercy. Like, look, it is one of those things where you could see how some people could be confused on this issue, because you do want to show compassion to somebody, especially a sinner. Jesus was merciful to sinners, but that understanding of go and sin no more is so vital to the point of it. And John Paul II really did show mercy when he said, look, you're in an irregular relationship. You have to live as brother and sister. Like, that is look, you have children. How much do you love your children? Do you love your children enough to live a chaste life, even though you have new children with this new husband. You have to live as brother and sister. You have to be chaste. Do you love your husband? You love him enough that you won't send him to hell, because that's what will happen.
But this is a really deep rabbit hole. I don't want to go down too deeply, but even Pope John Paul II's documents on marriage and Pope Benedict XVI's documents on marriage had tiny little fissures.
Oh, of course.
They had little fissures on irregular couples doing X, Y, and Z and approaching the sacraments and stuff. I mean, it wasn't as full blown.
No, but I think that you could make a case for where that, look, at least you're not continuing in your sin, right? But then you could look, if somebody's going to lie and say, oh, we're living as brother and sister, people are going to lie, right?
Right.
But at least telling them the truth, where if you are continuing a sexual relationship with, even if he's your new husband, he's not really your husband. You are his concubine. Like, you have children with him, but they're illegitimate. They are technically bastards, right?
Yeah, I'd have to go see what the document says. Little different topic though. Did you notice, like you mentioned this earlier, Anthony, this movie was made by Italians in around 2000. It's not made by traditionalists. And like, you're Italian, so I think I can say this without offending all your Italian listeners. Well, I think if I do, well, let me put it this way. If I offend them, I'm also offending you, and you can tell me. But, I've been to Italy 5-10 times. There's sort of this sense of like, if it's love, it's love,
Right.
And so I
think a lot of Europe is like that.
Yeah, all of Europe, yeah. And so I was really impressed that like non-traditionalists making this movie in 2000 still included this scene where Padre Pio says, I know you love him, and it's in quotes, I know you love him, but he's going to die in sin if you do this, you know? So this very notion that eternal life is more important than temporary happiness, that's a very traditionalist idea that doesn't fit in with like Aurora Virgin put on the screen there, not very pastoral. And so that's one reason
he is very pastoral.
He is
that's
very
the irony of it.
Yeah.
The irony of it is, how could you claim to be being pastoral if you're pastoring somebody to hell? If you're leading that person to hell, there's nothing pastoral about that. It's absurd.
That's right. And there's modernism sprinkled through this movie, but this is one reason I picked this scene, is because you see everything for him is in the view of eternity, not how somebody feels. Everything is in view of God, not human respect.
Rob, does your seeing it in Italian with the subtitles change a little bit of your opinion on it? I know the movie as a whole, like, you had a hard time with, like, your issue with it was hard to kind of follow the storyline. You didn't know much about what was going on outside of like the attenuating circumstances that maybe he would be acting a certain way, things like that. Because I know you're a history buff, like you were hoping to see more of that.
Well, I think just comparing it to the last movie we did, A Man for All Seasons, I think if you didn't know much about St. Thomas More, you come away from that movie with not only a sense of him as a person, but also a pretty good sense of his overall story, right? You don't have the dates and all the gritty details. Whereas in this, you know the narrative. In this, especially now seeing an Italian, like, you definitely get a sense for St. Pio the person, but it's very disjointed.
I think you have such
in a
a
narrative
historical,
sense,
analytical way of seeing things.
Oh, 100%. I'm very analytical. I want to know, is what Pio saying at that point because of a certain event that just happened, or not, stuff like that.
You see the difference in you and I a lot in this, because I'm very sentimental.
Yeah,
right. Like, we always point that out. Like, I'm very sentimental, and I see this movie makes me sentimental. Like, I fell in love with Pio's personality in this movie, where I totally understand, because I know you, and I know you. Like, the other thing is with A Man for All Seasons, it's a very dialogue dense movie, right? That whole movie is just
the writing was incredible.
Phenomenal writing. Yeah.
Seeing this in Italian now, it's better, but I mean, you're comparing Golden Age of Hollywood compared to a 2000s Italian TV series, right? So it's not gonna be the same,
right.
But
yeah. All right.
And so you see back to the scene, you see that the tenderness that he understands, where, like, it's like, Jesus with the woman at the well. He actually understands where she's coming from first and then has the harsh challenge. And you see the same thing here. He understands where she's coming from. She loves him. She says she loves her man. Yeah, I know you love her, but he's not your man. That's such an amazing thing. And slams the door on her. And then we see, and as the scene continues, the effect. And see, this is where St. Thomas Aquinas talks about human respect. Human respect, I mean, the sin of human respect doesn't mean you're respecting humans. There's too many traditionalists that get that wrong. Human respect means you're not supposed to respect one person above the other person based on their status, right? And this is where you see a perfect example of Padre Pio. He already knows it because he's reading her heart. She's a super famous movie star. There's people coming in asking for her autographs as she's going into the place. She just wants to go because she's heard of this cool friar. And what is one famous person supposed to do with another famous person? You go and meet them.
Mm-hmm.
She probably thinks she's going to get a little bit of a pass.
Special attention.
Yeah,
She's
special
a movie, so she got to
attention.
cut the line with the confessional.
Exactly.
She'll get a photo op out of it.
And what does she get? She gets the confession door slammed on her.
But he's still like, I'm so glad you picked this scene because he was still so gentle with her.
Yeah, he was.
He was so gentle with her and still told her the truth. So let's finish the scene out. Let's see how it goes. I forgot about this scene.
And she leaves crying like your man with the mustache. And it hurts, like,
too.
It kind of hurts him to do it, you know?
You see, all these people have such introspection after having an encounter with the man, right?
I love this
deep
scene.
Introspective scenes. Like after an encounter with Padre Pio, your heart was changed. It was like having an encounter with Christ.
Yep.
I mean, that's really what it was like, right? Like an aspect of meeting Christ. Look at her. This penitent coming back.
Pretty different than her cutting the line, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess she cuts the line again, but different way.
This broken woman. I love how the confessional lines are separated by sex too. Like he only sees women at sometimes and men at other. Like they don't even do co-ed confession.
Yeah, that's great, Kimmy. Che decisi?
Oh, I don't want to cover the.
Lo lascio, padre. Lo lascio. Perché si salvi.
Si salva.
Hey, pause it real quick. So the Italian right there was, I will leave him so that he be saved. It wasn't actually live. The Italian there was, I will leave him, subjunctive in English. We don't use the subjunctive a lot, but in Italian they did. I will leave him so that he be saved. And he says he will be saved. Now, maybe you can say bad theology. He doesn't know for sure he's going to be saved, but that's the actual line. It's not so he will live. It's using the word salvare in Italian right there.
Yeah. Well, he might have an insight into it, right? It's not. He's not saying once saved, always saved.
Someone's still on earth as far as final perseverance. But point is, I was just making a correction to the verb there. So
look, he knows. Okay, she's going to leave him. He's going to receive a miracle healing. Yeah. This man's going to have gratitude to God now, and maybe Pio has an insight into this man reforming his life.
Right.
God spared him.
That's right. He does say salvare. I think it's the future reflexive of the verb. Yeah, he will be saved.
Yeah, Paul's got a point here. Compare Pio to how your average trad acts to their brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Look. The thing is, I never want to not hold our own to account, right? Like I want to challenge our own to be the holiest of because we make so many claims about tradition. It's like if it's not moving our hearts and changing us and making us love more radically, then it's for naught. So it's like we better that's why things like this, conversations like this are good. I don't think people realize that when we do these, my favorite part about them is not even the movie, it's the side conversations that pop up about the different aspects of theology and things like that. That's why I really do like this movie series, man. I really hope we continue it, man. It's really great.
Tu avrai sempre la mia amica Gesù. Non resterai mai solo. Ecco ti absolva peccatis tuis. In nomine Padre, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti.
Voglio diventare vostra figlia.
sei già. Non ci sempre stata.
I love that. It brings tears to my eyes. I just love that scene.
Like, you've always been my daughter. That's why when you came in here, I did treat you with love and kindness, and I didn't just tell you, get out of here. You know, he didn't handle her like he did the other guy. You know, he
There was some
knew he had to
similarities
be.
out night in the rain. You know, like, but yeah, that's a great point, Anthony. Like, I don't think she realizes it right at the moment. Probably within 24 hours, she realizes it after that scene. But like, she has heard, because everybody knows they had all these prayer groups of women, and what does it mean to be a spiritual daughter of Padre Pio? It's a real, it's a real holy lady. She thinks. Okay, so she says, "I want to be one of your, after absolution. I want to be your spiritual daughter." And what a perfect line to say. You already have been.
Yeah,
and that's exactly. You're right, Anthony. That's exactly right. That's why he had to treat her harshly, because I heard a story once. Someone came up to Pio who he had denied absolution to, and he came back 20 or 30 years later. And, by this point, Pio had heard like over 1 million confessions. And so he said, he ran into him, not in the confessional, but like in real life.
yeah,
And I think he said, I'd like you to get in the confessional for you to hear my confession. But he opened his conversation outside the confession with, "You probably don't remember me." And Padre Pio said, "I do." And he pulled out from this part of his habit his name that he had written down, or at least the basics of his life, and showed him, after 20 years and 1 million penitents, this one guy he had denied absolution to more than just one guy. But for some reason, this guy who thought that Pio had forgotten about him, no, he had remembered him for that long. So even his act of denying absolution wasn't a tough guy trad act. Even the act of
it
denying
always had
absolution,
the soul of the individual in mind,
exactly,
knowing that it would be best for his conversion.
It wasn't just for the I think a lot of us traditionalist priests, we aim towards denying absolution for the sake of only ourselves. And there's something to consider in that. Like, if you see what is called a recidivist sinner, well, it's true the priest can go to hell for repeatedly absolving the recidivist sinner. But how many traditional priests, when we look at that, are only looking out for our own soul? It's like, if you're going to deny absolution for a recidivist sinner, you better be doing some pretty hardcore penance for him if you're denying absolution.
Yeah, priests that give a light penance, like, there are instances where it's okay for a priest to give a light penance, but that's because he's supposed